My name is Ashley Cooper, and I'm 41. For the past 15 years, my family has treated me like their greatest disappointment, sometimes in words, more often in that careful silence reserved for the black sheep. All the while, I quietly became one of the most respected women in the Los Angeles Police Department. The irony isn't lost on me as I sit in the back pew of St. Andrew's Baptist Church, watching my cousin Zach deliver a eulogy about family values and unconditional support. Zach is the same cousin who once told my sister, Ashley just needs to grow up. My sister Jennifer, the perfect one, is dabbing her eyes in the front row, flanked by her husband and 2 children, soaking in sympathetic whispers, how she was Grandma Mabel's favorite, how she was always there for the family. The real story? Jennifer visited Grandma twice in the last 2 years. Me. Whenever my schedule allowed, I drove for hours through Los Angeles traffic just to sit by Grandma's bed, listen to her stories, hold her hand during chemo. Not that anyone knows. I made sure of that. You learn to keep secrets in this job. I've learned to hide who I really am around my family, not out of shame, but because their reactions sting in ways even bullets don't. To them, I'm the odd one who ran off to a play copy instead of settling down like Jennifer, who, by the way, has a 6-bedroom house in Pasadena and a knack for attracting praise. I glance down at my simple black dress, making sure my lapped badge is hidden beneath the fabric. Old habits. Grandma Mabel, even on her deathbed, had looked me square in the eye and asked, Ashley, honey, when will you get a real job and settle down? She never understood that my real job involved facing down gang members in South Central, not some 9-to-5 behind a desk. Years ago, after graduating from the police academy, I came home for Thanksgiving in my brand new uniform, so proud I could barely breathe. That's nice, dear, a mom had said, not looking up from basting the turkey. Jennifer just got promoted to regional manager at the bank. She's making 6 figures now. Jennifer, with a perfect little smirk, at least one of us has a real career. That was 20 years ago. The comments only got worse, freezing me in time as they confused a girl who picked the wrong path. They have no idea that I've worked homicide, taken down drug rings, and helped put away violent offenders who terrorized entire neighborhoods. They don't know I received a Medal of Valor for saving a fellow officer's life. They never heard about my time as the youngest female captain in lapped history, or that I now run one of the largest divisions in the city, responsible for more than 1,000 officers and millions of dollars in city resources. Why would they? They never asked. Last Christmas, I overheard my aunt whispering to Jennifer, Ashley's still in that tiny apartment near the station. 40 years old and nothing to show for it. At least you have this beautiful house and the kids. I excused myself and called my lieutenant to confirm the next day's briefing. The next morning, I'd be leading a citywide operation to dismantle a human trafficking ring. But to my family, I was just a single, sad Ashley who can't get her life together. The funeral service drones on, relatives and family friends painting Grandma as a saint. Maybe she was, for them. I remember our last real conversation, just 3 weeks before she died. I worry about you, Ashley, as she said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp as ever. You're always working, always alone. Jennifer says you barely have friends. That's no way to live. I wanted to tell her about my work, the bonds you build with your team, the moments that matter, the purpose you find in service. I wanted her to know that I found my calling in the badge, that every sacrifice was worth it. But I'd learned better than to try. I'm doing fine, Grandma, I said. I'm happy. She squeezed my hand with surprising strength. I just want you to have what Jennifer has. A real life. Real success. Now, sitting here as Zach wraps up his speech about a family legacy, I feel the familiar knot in my stomach. Even in death, Grandma is a symbol of traditional success, suburban homes. Kids, a tidy little life. The implication is clear. I'm the cautionary tale. The granddaughter who made all the wrong choices. Before the service can move to the burial, the pastor announces a special presentation to honor Grandma. I frown. This isn't in the program. Jennifer stands up, smoothing her black skirt with the poise of someone born for the spotlight. Most of you know Grandma Mabel was proud of our family's record of public service. Her husband, my grandfather, was a firefighter in Chicago. She always believed service was the highest calling, Jennifer says, her voice ringing out. My chest tightens. Where is this going? So, Jennifer continues, we reached out to the Lapt, and they agreed to send a representative to honor Grandma's legacy. The church doors open. In walks Captain Ramirez, my old mentor, wearing full dress blues. Behind him is Sergeant Evans, who trained me as a rookie. They stop at the front, formal and somber. Ramirez speaks. On behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department and a grateful city, we honor the memory of Mabel Cooper, grandmother of one of our finest officers. I see Jennifer smile. She's already calculating how this will look on Instagram. Ramirez's next words freeze the room. We are proud to recognize Captain Ashley Cooper, one of the youngest female division commanders in Lapt history, whose career is a testament to dedication, service, and sacrifice. Silence. Every head in the church turns to me in the back row. For a heartbeat, nobody moves. The air feels thick, and I swear even the stained glass saints are watching me. I rise slowly, feeling more exposed than I ever did in a police vest under fire. I walk down the aisle, the crowd parting as if on cue, faces a blur of shock, curiosity, even a touch of fear. Jennifer's perfect composure slips just for a second. Her mouth falls open, eyes wide. Captain Ramirez salutes. I return it, military sharp, feeling the old instincts click in. Captain Cooper, he says, his voice steady but kind. Your grandmother raised a woman of uncommon strength and character. The city owes her, and you, a debt. Sergeant Evans presents my mother with a folded American flag, his hands steady and precise from years of ceremony. Then, with a subtle nod to me, he hands over a plaque inscribed with my name. I hear the whispers start, hushed at first, then louder. Ashley's a captain. She leads a whole division. My God, did you know? For the first time, I don't flinch from the attention. Instead, I stand a little taller, letting the truth settle in the room. My mother looks at the flag in her hands, then at me as if seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time in years. My Uncle Sam, Jennifer's father, gives a shaky laugh. Over 1,000 officers, he mutters, awe and confusion mixing in his voice. Ramirez, ever the leader, fills the silence. Captain Cooper oversees one of the toughest districts in LA. Her work has saved countless lives and transformed entire communities. He doesn't mention the specifics, the late nights, the drive-by shootings, the endless paperwork, the balancing act between city politics and neighborhood survival, but I see the recognition flicker across a few faces. Suddenly, I am no longer just the single one. I am something none of them ever expected, a leader. Jennifer's voice, thin and trembling, cuts through. Ashley, you're really in charge? Division Commander, I say quietly, meeting her eyes. I was promoted last year. But you live in that old apartment. You drive a department-issued sedan. I finish for her. I spend most of my time on patrol or in the precinct. A big house doesn't mean much when you're hardly ever home. For the first time, I see her mask break, a mixture of envy, confusion, maybe even regret. My mother rises, the flag pressed to her chest. All these years, I thought. You thought I'd wasted my life, I say gently. You wanted me to be more like Jennifer. The words hang between us, raw and unfiltered. For a moment, no one says anything. Then, Captain Ramirez steps closer. If I may, he says to the room, Captain Cooper has received the Medal of Valor, the Police Star, and numerous commendations for her service. She's led over 50 high-risk operations and was instrumental in building new protocols that keep officers and civilians safe every day. Someone in the back gasps. Medal of Valor? That's only for extraordinary bravery, Evans confirms. I glance around, watching as faces I've known my whole life struggle to reconcile their version of me with the woman standing before them. The girl who was never enough, suddenly more than they could have imagined. The rest of the ceremony passes in a strange, heavy silence. When it's over and the officers leave, my family breaks into awkward little clusters. I hear snippets of conversation. She could have told us. All this time, and we never asked. What does a captain even do? Jennifer approaches first. Her eyes are red, mascara smudged. She tries to smile, but it falters. I'm sorry, Ash. I didn't know. I shake my head, offering her a gentle smile. You didn't want to know, Jen. None of you did. She winces, then nods. We treated you like some kind of cautionary tale. I'm so ashamed. Her tears are real this time, messy, undignified, unguarded. My mother joins us, still clutching the flag. Why didn't you make us see? Why didn't you fight for us to understand? I meet her gaze and, for the first time, feel something soft and almost forgiving. Because it shouldn't have mattered. Even if I'd been just another patrol cop, struggling to pay rent, I'd still deserve your respect. I'd still be your daughter. She starts to cry, too, silent tears running down her cheeks, her posture crumbling under years of misunderstanding. My Uncle Sam tries to interject, but we're family. We should have known. No, I say, voice firmer. You should have cared enough to ask. You should have been proud of me for serving, no matter my rank or salary. You should have supported me, instead of measuring me by some definition of success that was never mine to begin with. The words land with a finality that feels almost like freedom. The burial is quieter. Word spreads fast, and now everyone wants to shake my hand, share their nephew's stories from the army, or tell me about their own run-in with the law. Suddenly, I'm interesting, a novelty. I force a smile, but inside, it all feels hollow. As we lay Grandma Mabel to rest, and the last relatives drift away, I find myself alone by her grave. The sun is setting, orange and gold over the Hollywood Hills, traffic rumbling in the distance. I kneel, brushing the dust from her headstone. I hope you're proud, Grandma, I whisper. I hope you can see now that I did find my purpose. It just didn't look like what you expected. I think of all those dinners, all those missed chances to connect, all the times I sat quiet while they talked about real jobs and real lives. But mostly, I think about my true family, the men and women I command, the people who trust me with their safety, the city I've tried so hard to serve. They see me. They know me. As I rise to leave, my phone buzzes with texts from Jennifer, my mom, even cousins I haven't spoken to in years. They all want to reconnect, to get to know the real me. I switch off my phone and walk toward my car. Tomorrow, I'll go back to the precinct, the only home I've ever really needed. I drive through the city at dusk, the LA skyline bleeding neon into a deepening blue sky. There's a strange relief in slipping back behind the wheel of my department-issue sedan, window cracked, radio on low, badge hidden beneath my jacket. This car feels more like home than the family house ever did. Traffic crawls along the 405, but I don't mind. The monotony gives me space to breathe, to let the whirlwind of the funeral day unravel in my mind. I think about Jennifer's tear-streaked face, about my mother's trembling hands on that folded flag. Their apologies echo, genuine but late. I wonder how many years I spent craving their approval, reshaping myself to fit their ideas of success. Too many, I realize, and I'm suddenly glad for the steady hum of the engine beneath me, a reminder that my real life, my real family, is waiting at the precinct. By the time I pull into the underground lot, the station is glowing with that tired, lived-in light of a city that never really sleeps. I grab my duffel, push open the heavy glass door, and let the familiar mix of coffee, floor wax, and adrenaline wash over me. The front desk officer, Taylor, a 23-year-old with a rookie's energy, gives me a respectful nod. Evening, Captain Cooper. Didn't expect to see you back so soon. I shrug, giving her a small smile. Figured I'd rather spend my night here than at another awkward family dinner. In my office, I hang up my jacket, dropping into the worn chair behind my desk. Framed commendations and photographs line the wall, my team on the steps of City Hall, a grainy shot of me shaking hands with the mayor, my old partner, Monica, grinning after we cracked our first big case. These are the people who know the real me. Not Captain Cooper, the symbol, but Ashley, the woman who's eaten cold pizza at 2 a.m. on a stakeout, who spent sleepless nights worrying about every cop under her command. A knock at the door. It's Lieutenant Ortiz, gruff and loyal, the kind of friend you trust with your life but rarely with your feelings. He doesn't bother with small talk. Heard you were back, he says, slumping into the chair across from me. How was it? I roll my eyes. Family drama. You know the drill. Spent more time explaining my job than mourning Grandma. He grins, then sobers. You okay? I consider lying, the way I always do, but stop myself. I'm tired, Frank. Tired of feeling like I have to defend my choices. Tired of being the outsider, even among my own blood. He nods, understanding more than he lets on. This place, these people, this is your family, Ash. Don't ever doubt it. He leaves, but the truth of his words lingers. I scroll through my emails, briefings, city council updates, a commendation letter from a family whose missing daughter we found last month. Each message reminds me that here, I'm valued not for fitting in, but for making a difference. Around midnight, I make my rounds through the bullpen. The night shift is gearing up, Jokes traded over stale coffee, officers pulling on bulletproof vests, the constant buzz of radios and anticipation. I stop by the whiteboard, scanning the list of calls, domestic disputes, a string of car break-ins in Hollywood, a burglary in Venice Beach. The work never stops. That's the point. Detective Kim, my best investigator, flags me down. "Captain, just wanted to say, you handled that human trafficking bust last week like a boss." Whole teams talking about it. Her words hit me differently tonight. For years, compliments slid off me, as if I didn't quite believe I deserved them. Tonight, I let them in. I glance at the clock. Another hour, and I should head home. But home in now feels ambiguous. Is it my apartment, a neat, tiny place with a view of the city and a fridge full of takeout? Or is it here, among the endless noise and pulse of the precinct, where I'm not just tolerated but needed? Back in my office, I let myself remember the years it took to get here. The late nights studying criminal lore while my friends were out at bars, the bruises from training, the heartbreak of losing officers in the line of duty. I think of Monica, my first partner, gone too soon after a traffic stop went wrong. I think of Rookie Taylor, just starting her journey, and of Ortiz, who's carried me through more storms than I can count. A message pops up on my phone. Jennifer again. "I'm sorry." "Really? Can we talk? Maybe coffee this week? I want to know more. About you. About your work." I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the screen. I want to believe her, but trust is something you earn with actions, not just words. For the first time, though, I'm willing to let the door crack open. Before I leave, I scroll a note for the morning shift, encouragement, updates, a reminder that every single badge in this place matters. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes, it's about the people who show up, again and again, no matter what. As I step back into the chill night air, I realize I feel lighter than I have in years. I have a purpose, a place. And, at long last, a sense that I am enough, exactly as I am. Sunrise sneaks through my blinds, painting stripes across my small apartment. For a moment, I just lie there, letting the warmth hit my face, breathing in the quiet. In this city, peace is a rare luxury. My phone's already buzzing with notifications, emails from the precinct, a voicemail from my mother, 3 unread texts from Jennifer. The old Ashley would have felt a pang of anxiety at each ping, a reflexive urge to answer, to please. This morning, I just smile and roll out of bed. Routine brings comfort, a quick run through Echo Park, the air crisp, the city still half asleep. I pass a pair of elderly neighbors walking their terrier, the same ones who wave at me every morning but have no idea that their quiet neighbor is Captain Cooper, lapped. The anonymity is a strange kind of freedom. Back home, I brew coffee, standing in my small kitchen, staring out at the skyline. I think about Grandma Mabel, her stubborn love, her narrow dreams for me, and wonder if she would finally be proud. Or would she still wish I was more like Jennifer, with the picture-perfect family and the stable job at a bank? I realize, not for the first time, that it doesn't really matter. I've built a life that makes sense to me. That's enough. By 8 a.m., I'm back at the precinct, sleeves rolled up, hair pulled into a tight ponytail. The building is alive with the usual early morning chaos, officers swapping night shift stories, detectives reviewing case files, the steady drone of police radios. I move through the halls, receiving nods and quick a morning, Captain a greetings. There's a quiet pride in knowing I belong here. At our morning briefing, I stand at the front of the room, scanning the faces, veteran officers, eager rookies, a handful of detectives who look like they haven't slept in days. I clear my throat, feeling that old familiar surge of energy. All right, team, we've got a busy week ahead. There's been a spike in break-ins near Silver Lake. Patrols will double up on night shifts, and we're coordinating with the community watch. Heads nod, pens scratch on notepads. I run through the updates, then pause. And one more thing, I let my gaze linger. Don't forget to check in with each other. We handle tough stuff, but nobody does this alone. If you need help, ask. And if you see someone struggling, reach out. That's the culture I fought to build, one of strength, yes, but also of real support. Not every precinct is like this. I learned that the hard way. After the briefing, Detective Kim lingers. Captain, you got a minute? I nod, leading her to my office. She shuts the door and perches on the edge of the chair. It's about the Sanchez case, as she says quietly. I know we're stretched thin, but I need 2 more officers for surveillance. And, can I be honest? I could use some backup myself. It's been rough. Her vulnerability touches me. Years ago, I might have tried to tough it out alone, too. Done, I tell her. I'll reassign Evans and Lee for support. And Kim, take care of yourself, all right? She exhales, visibly relieved. Thanks, Capital. I mean it. When she leaves, I find myself thinking about my family. How, for so long, asking for help felt like failure. How often I kept my struggles to myself, determined to prove I was enoughy on my own. Maybe that's why I fought so hard to make sure my officers don't feel that same loneliness. At lunch, I finally check Jennifer's texts. Hey Ash, can we really get coffee this week? I want to understand. I'm sorry it took so long. I hesitate, staring at the screen. Forgiveness isn't automatic. It's a process, one I'm only now willing to start. Still, something in her message feels genuine, a crack in the armor. I reply. Coffee sounds good. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Blue Owl Cafe? Her response is instant. Perfect. Thank you, Ash. Really? After lunch, I run into Ortiz again. He leans against my door frame, holding 2 coffees. You know, you don't have to fix everything yourself, he says, offering me one. I laugh, taking the cup. Old habits. Working on it. He raises an eyebrow. Maybe it's time to let people surprise you. Even family. I consider that as he walks away. That afternoon, I sit through budget meetings, review reports, sign off on overtime for a rookie who's juggling work and single fatherhood. Every decision, every signature, feels like another stone in the foundation of something real, a legacy that matters, even if my family never fully sees it. At the end of my shift, I gather my things and pause at my office door. I glance at the photos on the wall, my team, my old partner, me at the academy graduation. I realize, for the first time, that I'm proud of the life I've built, not for anyone else, but for myself. Outside, the city pulses with life. I take a deep breath, ready for tomorrow, not just the job, but the coffee with Jennifer, the possibility of breaking the cycle, of letting my real story be seen. Tonight, I let myself hope, not for their approval, but for a new kind of connection, one built on honesty, and, maybe, the start of understanding. The Blue Owl Cafe sits on a busy street corner, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner, its windows fogged with the promise of fresh espresso. I get there early, mostly out of habit. Cops hate being late, and old insecurities die hard. I claim a table by the window, hands wrapped around a too-hot mug, watching the world hurry by. Jennifer arrives 5 minutes later, out of breath, dressed in her usual business casual armor. For a moment, she hesitates at the door, scanning the room until our eyes meet. She offers a tentative smile and slides into the seat across from me. "Thanks for meeting me," she says, stirring her coffee even though she hasn't added anything to it. I nod. Of course. The silence between us is awkward at first, but not unkind. There's history here, years of birthdays, Christmases, and Thanksgivings where we played our roles: Jennifer, the golden child, Ashley, the rebel. Now those old costumes don't fit so well. She breaks the silence. "I was thinking last night. I don't know if I've ever really asked about your work." "Not really." That surprises me, though maybe it shouldn't. I take a breath. It's not glamorous, Jen. Most days, it's paperwork, arguments with City Hall, and making sure my team gets home safe. But some days, it's chasing down suspects, talking to victims, negotiating with people on the edge. It's stressful, but it matters. I matter, there. She nods, her eyes shiny. "I always thought you just," as she trails off, searching for the right words. "I guess I thought you couldn't settle down, or you were running from something. But you're running towards things, aren't you?" I give a small, genuine laugh. I guess so. I just wanted a life that meant something. I wanted to help people who didn't have anyone else. Jennifer looks down, twisting her wedding ring. "I judged you. I let everyone judge you. I was so caught up in my own world, work, kids, keeping up appearances. I never really saw what you were building. I'm sorry, Ash." Hearing it out loud, her apology, her vulnerability, hits harder than I expect. For a moment, I don't know what to say. I realize that I've been waiting for this, in some form, my whole adult life. But it's also not magic. Wounds take time to heal. I appreciate it, I say honestly. But it wasn't just you. I could have tried harder, too. I hid things because it was easier than feeling like I always had to explain myself. She reaches for my hand across the table, tentative. I let her. "Can we start over?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. I squeeze her fingers, feeling a little of that childhood closeness return. "We can try." We talk about my work, her kids, the pressures of being a perfect, and the loneliness that comes from living up to other people's standards. She tells me things I never expected to hear, that sometimes she feels like an imposter, that she worries about failing her family, that the house and job don't always fill the empty spaces. I tell her about Monica, my first partner, and what it was like to lose someone in the line of duty. I tell her about the nights I drive around the city alone, just to remind myself why I chose this life. It's not an interrogation, it's a conversation. For the first time in years. I feel seen. When our cups are empty, we linger a little longer, neither of us ready to leave just yet. Jennifer laughs at something I say, a real, full laugh, and for a second, we're just sisters again, not adversaries or disappointments. As we get up to leave, she hugs me tightly. Don't be a stranger, okay? Promise, I say. And, for once, I mean it. Walking back to my car, I feel lighter than I have in years. Not because everything is fixed, but because it's finally real. We've stopped pretending. The stories we told ourselves about who we are, about who we're supposed to be, don't fit anymore. Back at the precinct, the day's chaos sweeps me back into motion. A call about a missing child, a flurry of paperwork, a tense negotiation with city officials over funding. But underneath it all, there's a steady warmth, a new sense of possibility. I realize that forgiveness, like trust, is a process. Maybe this is just the first step. Maybe it's enough. That evening, as I lock up my office, I get a text from Jennifer. Thanks for meeting me. The kids want to see you soon. Dinner at our place next week? I grin. Looking forward to it, I reply. Outside, the city is alive, the air tinged with possibility. For the first time in a long time, I feel ready for whatever comes next. Not because I have my family's approval, but because I have my own. The week passes in a blur, crime reports, city meetings, budget headaches, and a case that keeps me up late searching maps, rereading witness statements. This is the cadence of my life. One moment, I'm driving patrol through neighborhoods thick with history and struggle. The next, I'm negotiating with city council members who haven't set foot outside their gated communities in years. Some nights, the weight of it all presses heavy. But after my conversation with Jennifer, a quiet new optimism bubbles up beneath the fatigue. She texts every day now, little things. How's your day? Can you send me that cinnamon roll recipe? Sometimes a meme, sometimes a photo of her kids making faces at the breakfast table. I reply in kind, at first a little cautiously, then with growing ease. I tell her about work, funny moments, hard cases, the things I used to keep to myself. In her replies, I see the beginnings of real understanding. I accept her dinner invitation, promising to bring dessert and a board game for the kids. On Saturday evening, I pull up in front of her house in Pasadena, the golden hour sun catching the windows. I stand on the walk for a moment, taking it in, a well-kept lawn, kids' bikes in the driveway, the distant sound of laughter through an open kitchen window. For years, I envied this life, mistaking comfort for happiness. Now, I just want to see my family as they are, and let them see me. Jennifer greets me with a hug, her husband Mark hovering behind her, smiling awkwardly. The kids, Maddie and Lucas, race down the hall to show me their latest Lego creation, dragging me into their world with a chaos I can't help but love. For a while, I let myself belong here. We eat dinner crowded around a table that's seen years of birthdays and homework and spilled milk. Conversation drifts from school projects to local news, to Jennifer's quiet confession that she sometimes feels lost in her own life. Being the good daughter is exhausting, as she admits, half joking. After dinner, while the kids battle it out in Monopoly, Jennifer and I clean up in the kitchen. She glances over her shoulder, lowering her voice. Mom wants you to come by for brunch next Sunday, she says. She keeps asking about you. She's proud, you know. I think she just never knew how to say it. I lean against the counter, unsure how to answer. For years, I kept my distance, thinking I was protecting myself. Maybe I was just avoiding the work of reconnecting. I'll come, I say finally. But it has to be honest. No pretending, no stories about who we wish we were. Jennifer nods, relief flashing in her eyes. Deal. Maybe we could all use a little honesty. I head home late, the sky wide and dark, feeling like I've crossed an invisible threshold. Family doesn't mean what it used to. Some neat package, all approval, and easy love. It's messy, flawed, full of misunderstandings. But it's also showing up, listening, letting old wounds start to heal. Back at my apartment, I check in with my precinct via group chat. The Sanchez case, the one that's been gnawing at me, is getting traction. Detective Kim texts, "We got a tip from an informant. Looks like a break's coming. We'll update in the morning." I try to wind down, but my mind spins, about the case, about my family, about the life I'm building on my own terms. I think about the new rookies starting next week, the way I'll stand in front of them at roll call and try to show them that leadership isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. I remember something Captain Ramirez once told me, back when I was still green and uncertain. The badge doesn't make you a leader. The way you treat people does. I didn't understand it then, not really. Now, it's the foundation of everything I do. With my officers, with my family, with myself. Sunday comes faster than I expect. I find myself at my mother's house, the same home where so many old arguments simmered just beneath the surface. But today, when she opens the door, there's no criticism, no guarded looks, just a long, awkward hug and the kind of quiet apology that lives between words. Over pancakes and coffee, we talk about everything and nothing, about Grandma Mabel, about the future, about letting go of old grudges. For the first time, I let them all see the real me, Ashley Cooper, police captain, daughter, sister, survivor. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to hide the scars or the pride or the doubts. I just have to show up, again and again, in uniform or not. That night, I write in my journal, a habit I picked up on long stakeouts. Family is not about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I close the book and turn out the light, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Monday comes too soon, bringing with it the usual swirl of meetings and mayhem. There's barely time to grab coffee before my inbox fills with urgent messages, a last-minute city council request for crime statistics, a personnel issue involving one of my best sergeants, an anonymous threat phoned in to the front desk. The job never really slows down. It just shifts from crisis to crisis. But there's a subtle difference in me. I'm no longer fighting for approval, not at home and not here. I'm just trying to do my job well, to lead in a way that would make Monica proud, that would honor the trust Captain Ramirez put in me. It feels like freedom, messy, unpredictable, but real. Detective Kim is waiting in my office when I arrive. She's got dark circles under her eyes but a determined glint too. "We got that break in the Sanchez case," she says. "Our informant came through, a warehouse in Boyle Heights. We've got enough for a warrant, but it's risky. I wanted to check in with you before we make the call." I nod, reviewing the file. The risks are real, violent suspects, the chance of a tip-off, the ever-present danger of something going sideways. "Let's do it by the book," I tell her. Full backup. No lone wolf heroics. "And Kim? You run point. I trust you." She looks surprised, then fiercely grateful. "Thank you, Captain." That afternoon, we gear up for the raid. The briefing room is charged with adrenaline and nervous energy. I catch my own reflection in the window, a woman who has learned to trust her instincts, her training, and her people. As I speak, laying out the plan, I see my team watching me not with fear or skepticism, but with respect. We're in this together. The operation is tense, but it goes down clean. No one gets hurt. 2 suspects are arrested, and 3 missing girls are brought out of that warehouse, dazed but alive. I ride in the ambulance with one of them, a girl named MIA, who can't be more than 15. She clings to my hand the whole way, too shaken to speak. As we reach the hospital, she finally whispers, a thank you. That one word stays with me all night. This is why I chose this life. Not for the medals, not for anyone's approval, but for moments like this, when the world tilts a little closer to right. Back at the station, Kim and I fill out the mountain of paperwork that comes after every operation. She's tired, but smiling. You ever regret it? She asks suddenly. Regret what? Being the one who runs toward the fire, instead of away from it? I shake my head. Not once. The world needs people who show up. You showed up today. The next morning, I get an email from the chief of police, commending my team's work. It's the kind of praise I used to crave, but now it just feels like a bonus. What matters most is the look in Mia's eyes, the quiet strength in Kim's voice, the knowledge that my team trusts me with their lives. As the week goes on, my life settles into a new kind of rhythm. Jennifer calls to ask for advice on a PTA fundraiser. Mom sends a photo from her garden. Even Mark texts me, inviting me to Lucas's soccer game. For once, my family isn't trying to change me, they just want me there. At the same time, I notice the precinct changing too. Officers drop by my office more often, not just for instructions but to talk. New rookies ask me about career paths, about mistakes and regrets, about how to last in this job without losing yourself. I tell them the truth. Don't measure yourself by someone else's yardstick. This job will try to break you, but it can also make you whole. Find your own reason. And don't ever be ashamed of who you are. One evening, I take the long way home, cruising through the neighborhoods I once patrolled as a rookie. Kids play basketball on cracked courts. Murals bloom on concrete walls. The city hums with stories, heartache, and hope in equal measure. I realize how much I belong here, not just as a cop, but as a daughter, a sister, a leader. That night, I sit on my apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker on, feeling the old restlessness settle into something quieter, more content. My phone buzzes with a message from Jennifer. Dinner next week? Maddie wants to hear one of your police stories. I laugh, texting back. You got it. But only if I get pie for dessert. Sometimes, family means starting over, again and again. Sometimes, it means just showing up. I'm finally learning that's enough.